For years ago, I bought a $42,000 SUV. Monthly payment, $680. I just sat down with a calculator and figured out what that car actually cost me. And I honestly feel nauseous. It wasn't $42,000. It wasn't even the $49,000 I paid after interest when I factored in what that money could have done if I'd invested it instead. I didn't buy a car. I bought a $680 a month ticket to working until I'm 70. And if you have a car payment right now, you need to see this math before your next payment comes out. My name is John, and I spend way too much time thinking about why your monthly car payment is the single largest obstacle preventing you from building wealth, costing you hundreds of thousands in lost investment growth over your lifetime. If you are someone who has a $550, $650, or even $750 car payment that you've accepted as just par life, because literally everyone you know has one too, it's automatic, comes out every month, and you stop thinking about it. But lately you've been doing the math and realizing that $7,800 a year, every year for 6 years, just to own a depreciating asset. Meanwhile, your savings account has $1,200 in it. You're not investing anything for retirement. And you're stuck in this cycle where you'll trade in this car for another one and restart another 6-year payment plan. You watch YouTube videos about investing and building wealth, but you can't even start because this one payment eats up all your extra money. Deep down, you know this car payment is the reason you can't get ahead. But you also don't know how to escape it without driving some beater that breaks down. And you're terrified of looking poor in front of coworkers, friends, or dates. You feel trapped between social expectations and financial reality. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Let's start with the lie we've all been sold. You walk into a dealership. You see a car you like. The salesman says, "Great choice. This one's only $650 a month." And in your head, you do quick math. $650 times 12 months. That's $7,800 a year. Over 6 years, that's about $47,000. You think, okay, the car costs $40,000. So with interest, yeah, that tracks. But here's what nobody tells you. That's not what the car costs. That's just what you pay. The actual cost, the real wealth-destroying cost, is what you give up by making that payment instead of investing that money. According to the Federal Reserve's 2025 consumer credit data, the average new car loan in the United States is $40,000 with an average monthly payment of $734. The average used car payment is $525. And here's the kicker. The average American keeps that loan for 68 months, nearly 6 years, and then immediately trades it in and starts another one. So let me show you the math that made me sick. Let's say you have a $650 monthly car payment for 6 years. That's $46,800 total. Now, what if instead of making that payment, you drove a $5,000 used car that you paid cash for, and you invested that $650 every single month into a basic S&P 500 index fund? Over those 6 years, assuming a conservative 10% average annual return, which is historically accurate for the S&P 500, you wouldn't have $46,800. You'd have approximately $61,000. You just lost $61,000 in potential wealth. But wait, it gets worse. What if you kept doing that for the next 6 years? Most people don't stop at one car payment. They trade in, they upgrade, they restart the cycle. If you invested that $650 a month for 12 years, instead of having 2 consecutive car payments, you have roughly $163,000. But John, you might say, I need a car. I can't just not have a car. I get it. I'm not saying don't have a car. I'm saying the payment is a problem. The moment you finance a depreciating asset, you're not just buying a car, you're buying poverty. You're locking yourself into a system where you work to pay interest on something that loses value the second you drive it off the lot. And here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Most people aren't driving $40,000 cars because they need $40,000 worth of car. They're driving them because of how it makes them feel, because of what they think it says about them. And that psychological trap, that's what I want to talk about next. Because until you understand why you're making this decision, the math won't matter. Look, I'm not here to judge you. I did this too. I bought a $42,000 SUV when I was making $65,000 a year. Why? Because I thought I was supposed to. Because everyone at my office had nice cars. Because I didn't want to pull up to a client meeting in a 2008 Honda Civic with a dent in the door. This is called social signaling, and it's one of the most expensive psychological traps in American culture. Your car is visible. Everyone sees what you drive. Your co-workers see it when you pull into the parking lot. Your neighbors see it in your driveway. Your date sees it when you pick them up. And somewhere deep in your brain, there's a voice that says, this car tells people I'm successful. This car tells people I've made it. But here's the brutal truth. Nobody cares about your car as much as you think they do. And the people who do care, they're usually broke too. There's a study study from the Journal of Consumer Research in 2024 that found that people consistently overestimate how much others notice and judge their material possessions. We think people are paying attention to our car, our watch, our clothes. They're not. They're worried about their own stuff. But even knowing that, it's hard to break the cycle because we live in a country where your car is tied to your identity. In most of the United States, you need a car to get to work, to get groceries, to live your life. And because we need cars, the car industry has spent billions of dollars convincing us that we don't just need a car, we need a nice car. Here's what's happening psychologically when you finance a car. Loss aversion. You're more afraid of perceived loss of status, looking poor or unsuccessful, than you are motivated by the potential gain of wealth. Driving a cheaper car feels like losing something, even though financially it's winning. Present bias. Your brain values the immediate pleasure of driving a nice car right now more than it values the abstract concept of having $163,000 in 12 years. The future feels fake. The car is real. Social comparison. You're not comparing your car to what you actually need. You're comparing it to what your coworkers, your friends, your Instagram feed is driving. And because everyone around you has a car payment, it feels normal. It feels like what you're supposed to do. But here's the thing. Everyone around you is also broke. According to a 2025 survey by Bankrate, 57% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense. But I guarantee you, most of those people have a car payment. They're choosing the appearance of wealth over actual wealth. And I get it. I really do. It's hard to drive a $5,000 car when your buddy pulls up in a $50,000 truck. It's hard to explain to your family why you're downgrading when you just got a promotion. It's hard to feel like you're doing well when your car is 10 years old. But here's what I realized. The people who are actually wealthy, the people who retire early, who have options, who aren't stressed about money, they're not the ones with the nicest cars. They're the ones who stopped caring what other people thought about their car. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, drove a 2014 Cadillac XDS for years. He didn't upgrade because he didn't need to prove anything to anyone, and neither do you. So now you understand the psychology. But what does this actually cost you in real, hard numbers? Let me show you the math that will keep you up at night. Okay, let's get into the numbers that made me genuinely nauseous. Let's say you're 30 years old. You have a $650 car payment. You keep that car for 6 years, then trade it in and get another car with another $650 payment. You do this until you're 65, retirement age. That's 35 years of car payments. 35 years times $7,800 a year equals $273,000 in total payments. But remember, that's not the real cost. The real cost is what that money could have done if you invested it. If you invested $650 a month for 35 years at a 10% average annual return, you would have $2.3 million. Not $273,000. $2.3 million. Let me say that again. Your car payments aren't costing you $273,000. They're costing you $2.3 million in retirement wealth. That's the difference between retiring at 65 with a modest lifestyle and retiring at 65 as a legitimate millionaire. That's the difference between working until you die and having options. But John, you might say 10% returns aren't guaranteed. You're right. Let's be conservative. Let's say you only get 8% average annual returns. You'd still have $1.5 million. Let's say you only get 7%. You'd still have $1.1 million. Even in the worst case scenario where you get below average market returns, you're still losing out on over $1 million in wealth by choosing car payments over investing. Now let's talk about depreciation, because this is where it gets even worse. According to Kelley Blue Book data from 2025, the average new car loses 20% of its value in the first year. By year 3, it's lost 40% of its value. By year 6, when you're trading it in, it's lost about 60% of its value. So let's do the math on a $40,000 car. After 6 years, it's worth about $16,000. You paid $46,800 in payments plus interest. You get $16,000 back on the trade-in. Your net loss is $30,800, and that's before we even talk about insurance, gas, and maintenance. But if you bought a $5,000 car in cash, driven it for 6 years, and it depreciated to $2,000, your net loss is $3,000. That's $27,800 less in losses. And if you invested that difference, you'd have $61,000 instead of zero. Here's another angle: opportunity costs in retirement. Let's say you're 30 and you invest $650 a month until you're 65. At 10% returns, you have $2.3 million. Now, using the 4% safe withdrawal rule, you can pull $92,000 a year from that account in retirement without running out of money. But if you spent that money on car payments instead, you have zero invested, which means you're relying entirely on Social Security, which in 2026 averages about $1,900 a month, $22,800 a year. So your car payments didn't just cost you $2.3 million. They cost you $70,000 a year in retirement income for the rest of your life. That $650 car payment is not a monthly expense. It's a lifetime sentence. So how do you escape? That's what we're getting into next. The actual step-by-step plan to break free from car payments forever. All right, let's get practical. You're convinced. You see the math. You understand the psychology. But you still have a car payment right now, and you still need a car. So what do you actually do? Here are the 5 steps to escape the car payment trap. Step 1. Stop the bleeding immediately. Don't trade in or upgrade. The first thing you need to do is commit to keeping your current car until it's paid off. I don't care if your friend just got a new truck. I don't care if there's a great deal at the dealership. You finish this loan, and then you never get another one. Most people trade in their car 2 or 3 years into a 6-year loan because they're bored, or because the car needs a repair, or because they want something newer. This is financial suicide. Every time you trade in, you're restarting the clock and losing money on depreciation. Keep the car. Step 2. Build a car replacement fund while you're still making payments. Here's the thing. You can't just stop having a car payment and immediately buy a $5,000 car in cash if you don't have $5,000. So while you're finishing your current car loan, you need to start saving. Let's say you have 2 years left on your $650 payment. Once it's paid off, you don't stop paying that $650. You redirect it into a high-yield savings account or a money market fund. After 1 year, you have $7,800 saved. After 2 years, you have $15,600. Now, when your current car finally dies or becomes unreliable, you can buy a $10,000 used car in cash and still have $5,600 left over to invest. Step 3. Buy used, buy boring, buy reliable. When it's time to replace your car, do not go to a dealership and finance a nice used car for $25,000. That's still a trap. Buy a car that's 8 to 12 years old from a private seller. Look for brands known for reliability. Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, Toyota Camry, Mazda 3, Subaru Outback. These cars routinely last 200,000 plus miles if maintained. Yes, you might need to spend $500 to $1,000 a year on maintenance. That's still cheaper than a $7,800 annual car payment. And here's the objection I know you're thinking. But John, what if it breaks down? What if I get stranded? Okay, let's do the math. Let's say your $8,000 used car needs a $2,000 repair in year 3. You're still only at $10,000 total cost. Meanwhile, someone with a $650 payment has spent $23,400 over those same 3 years. You're ahead by $13,400. Step 4. Redirect former car payment into investments immediately. The day your car is paid off, you set up an automatic transfer of $650 a month into a Roth IRA or a brokerage account invested in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Do not give yourself the option to spend that money. Automate it. Make it invisible. This is a step that changes your life. This is a step that turns a $650 expense into $2.3 million in retirement. Step 5. Reframe your identity around wealth, not status. This is a psychological step, and it's the hardest one. You have to stop measuring success by what you drive and start measuring it by what you own. You have to stop caring if your coworker thinks your car is cheap. You have to be okay with people not being impressed. Here's how I reframed it for myself. Every time I see someone driving a $60,000 truck, I don't think, wow, they're successful. I think, wow, they're broke and don't know it. Every time someone comments on my older car, I don't feel shame. I feel pride because I know I'm building wealth while they're building debt. Your car doesn't define you. Your net worth does. And nobody sees your net worth when you pull into the parking lot, but you'll feel it every single day when you check your investment account and watch it grow. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. John, I get, but I already have the payment. The damage is done. Is it even worth fixing now? Let me address that because yes, it's absolutely worth it. Let's talk about the excuses because I've heard them all. I've used them all. Objection 1. I need a reliable car for work. I can't risk driving something old. I get it. But here's the thing. A 10-year-old Honda Civic with 100,000 miles that's been maintained is more reliable than a brand new car from a less reliable brand. Reliability isn't about age. It's about the brand and maintenance history. And even if you do have a breakdown, a tow truck, and $1,000 repair is still cheaper than 6 years of $650 payments. Objection 2. But I got a great interest rate, only 3.9%. That's basically free money. No, it's not. Even at 3.9% interest on a $40,000 loan over 6 years, you're paying about $4,800 in interest. That's $4,800 you gave to a bank for no reason. And more importantly, you're still giving up the opportunity to invest that money. A 3.9% loan costs you 3.9%, but investing that money could earn you 10. You're losing 6% in opportunity cost every single year. Objection 3. I already have 3 years left on my loan. It's too late to fix this. It's not too late. Here's what you do. You keep the car until it's paid off, you start saving aggressively, and you commit to never financing a car again. The best time to stop was 5 years ago. The second best time is today. And honestly, if you're really motivated, you can pay off your car loan early, take any extra income, tax refunds, bonuses, side hustle money, and throw it at the loan. Get out from under it as fast as possible. Objection 4. My car makes me happy. Isn't that worth something? Sure, happiness is worth something. But ask yourself this. Does your car make you happy, or does it make you feel less anxious about what other people think? Because if it's the second one, that's not happiness. That's insecurity with a $650 monthly price tag. Real happiness is going to bed at night, knowing you're building wealth. Real happiness is knowing you can retire early. Real happiness is not being stressed about money. Objection 5. I can afford the payment. I make good money. That's the most dangerous objection of all, because it's technically true. You can afford the payment. But the question isn't whether you can afford it. The question is, what are you giving up by making it? You can afford the $650 payment, sure, but you can't afford to invest $650 a month. You can't afford to save for a down payment on a house. You can't afford to build an emergency fund. You can't afford to retire early. The payment isn't killing you today. It's killing your future. So where do you go from here? Let me wrap this up and give you the final push you need to make a change. Here's the thing I want you to understand. This isn't really about cars. It's about control. When you have a $650 car payment, you don't control your money. Your money controls you. You have to work to make that payment. You have to stay at a job you hate to make that payment. You have to say no to opportunities because you're locked into that payment. But when you drive a paid off car and invest that $650 instead, you're in control. You decide where your money goes. You decide when you retire. You decide what risks you're willing to take. That's freedom. And I know it's hard. I know it feels like a sacrifice. I know you're scared of what people will think. But here's what I've learned. The people who judge you for driving an older car are not the people whose opinions matter. The people who are actually successful, actually wealthy, actually free, they respect you for making the smart choice. You're not going to feel the impact of this decision tomorrow. You're not even going to feel it next year. But in 10 years, when your friends are still making car payments and you have $130,000 invested, you're going to feel it. In 20 years, when they're talking about working into their 70s and you're talking about early retirement, you're going to feel it. This is a long game. And the only way to win a long game is to make decisions today that your future self will thank you for. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you're tempted to upgrade your car, to finance something new, to justify a payment because everyone does it, I want you to open a compound interest calculator and run the numbers. I want you to see what that payment actually costs you over 20, 30, 40 years. And then I want you to make the hard choice, the smart choice, the choice that builds wealth instead of destroying it. Because you deserve to be wealthy. You deserve to be free. And you're not going to get there by working your entire life to pay for a car. If this video helped you see car payments differently, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Drop a comment and tell me one money mistake you're fixing after watching this. Are you keeping your car longer? Are you committing to buying your next car in cash? Let me know, because I read every single comment. And if you know someone who's about to finance a car or who's stuck in the car payment cycle, send them this video. You might literally save them hundreds of thousands of dollars. My name is John. Stop working for your car and start making your money work for you.